All right, welcome back, everybody. I'm here with Adam, and we're going to discuss What's Your Why. So this is episode 28, and got some good stories, hopefully. I know it'll be good. It'll be some good whys, and everything will just flow. But I really appreciate it. I appreciate you guys liking and subscribing. I just continue to see it grow, so I like it. First, let's start off with the cheers.
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 That's good stuff.
I got an IPA from Foamless Reflections in San Diego, California. And then he's got a hazy IPA from Heavy. So, Andrew, I hope you're watching. This is a third podcast that I've thrown your beer on because that stuff is delicious. So I may have to have you send me some. First, I want to start off with, and I haven't done this in a while, but I want to give Adam a shirt from What's Your Why. So, there's your shirt.
Yeah. Dude, look at that.
And
that's good quality, man.
Yeah, it is.
That's nice.
And
That's
he
real
did give
nice.
me a morale patch, so I appreciate it. It'll go on my wall of patches, which I might end up moving to the back of me, just to kind of
Yeah.
or have a different wall because I feel like I've been getting a few of these. I got some sent. Benny, a buddy of mine, he's out of Dias, and he just sent me a couple of patches as well. So,
That's what's up.
but so thank you for coming. And we're just gonna kick it off. Give us a little background about yourself.
So, like I said, I'm still active duty. I've been a little bit over 18 years. I can actually hit the button March. I'm chomping at the bit because I know what I want to do, and I told him earlier I know what I want to be when I grow up. Finally figured that out. So let's see here. I'm actually from Arizona. I'm from Phoenix. When I joined, I know, right? when I joined, I've been married. I'm still married, 22 years. I was older when I joined. I turned 26 when I got to my first base, and just stuff just wasn't working out. And so when I joined, before I even hit the recruiter, I called my wife. I was like, "Hey, what do you think, Air Force?" Crickets. No, it's dead silent. She's at work. I'm like, "Hey, you there?" And she's like, "You think so?" I was like, "I can go talk to the recruiter. What's the worst they're gonna say? No?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "All right, here we go." So my first base. So when I joined, I wanted to get away from Arizona. I was like, I grew up here, 25 years. I lived in LA for 2 years. I wanted to see the world, right? I wanted to take my family and travel. Never wanted to come back to Arizona. So first duty station was Lake and Heath. I was there for 3 years. Then I did my first tour in Korea. I hit Osan. Then I hit Okinawa. We were at Kadena for 6 years. Just fell. Oh yeah.
Gorgeous base.
Oh,
Gorgeous
I love that.
base.
I missed that place. Fell in love with it, and then hit Kunsan. And our plan at that point was to do second tour in Korea, then try and either come back to Japan or hit Germany, because I wanted to kind of see that part of the world, and we both agreed that. And my wife, she had actually fell in love with Asia, and that's what we thought we were gonna do. Well, halfway through the probably about the 5 year mark for Kadena, something started tugging us home. Can't explain it. Could not at the time. I couldn't explain it. So I tell my wife, I was like, "Hey, I think we're supposed to go back to the States." She's like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, I don't know why, but I think we're supposed to go back." She's like, "Okay, well, what do you think?" I was like, "This is going to be weird. I think we're supposed to go back to Arizona." She's like, okay. I think that's where we're supposed to go, because the kids, they hadn't really seen Arizona. They had visited. I was like, yeah, it's where I'm from. See the U.S. kind of thing. I was like, all right. So I put in DM. DM was my number one. Let's see, Luke was number two, because I still got family over in that part of town, and then Washington State and Florida were the other ones, because I'd never been up to Washington State. Wanted to do, and so now do Kunsan, and sure enough, I get my number one, because I love the A10s. I was fascinated by the 30 mic. I always wanted to work with that, and so that's what got us here.
And how long have you been here?
So we got here late 17.
Late 17.
So
Okay.
been here a while.
Damn. I was. We were just talking about the rescue unit.
Yeah.
I was deployed that time. Coming back, as soon as I got back, I started my out processing to retire.
That's crazy. That is
It's
wild,
good times. It was
man.
good times. It was a fun deployment. Well, anyway.
Yeah.
But so, you know, he's the first active duty member that I've actually done an interview with and a What's Your Why. So there's no continuation of that why just yet from post military, and we'll get to that. But what was your why for joining? What was your why for kind of, you know, that you told your wife that you wanted to, what about the Air Force, but what made you decide that? What, because you were 26. A lot of the individuals that I've talked to, 18, 19, 20, 21,
Yeah.
but 26. This is you before. I think now it's up to 35, but before you couldn't be
Yeah,
older
it
than
is.
28 when you joined. So obviously you're getting to that. You joined in, what are we talking? 06, 07?
2006 is when I officially joined.
And at the time they still had a limit of 28. So you're pushing that boundaries of
I was
joining.
I was pushing that mark.
So what made you join? Why?
So the interesting thing on that is little bit of context. My dad, he was a pastor for 26 years. He wasn't your traditional pastor where he preached from the pulpit. He could, but he was a media pastor. So for anybody that's in Arizona, like the Phoenix area, back in, so this would have been mid 90s going all the way up to early 2000s. He was a pyrotechnician. He was a
Okay.
fireworks shooter. So he would do, it was at the time, this is late 90s, it was one of the largest free fireworks shows in the state of Arizona.
Really?
So he was a minister and he was a licensed pyrotechnician. We would do big USO type shows for the 4th of July. He produced all that stuff in Phoenix. At the
okay. I
church
was gonna
in
say.
Phoenix.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was kind of the joke was he was a pastor. He could marry you. He could bury you. He could blow stuff up too. so I grew
that's
up
perfect.
around explosives, right? And I thought at the time I'm a punk kid. You know, I thought I was going to follow in his footsteps. I grew up around media, so the podcast, the advent of the podcast. That's what I grew up doing. That was in my DNA. I never thought I was going to be military. When I was in my teens, I loved the military. I always wanted to be. Like I had an uncle. He was Desert Storm Marine. I had some of my mentors growing up, Vietnam Marines. So I love the military thought process. But I'm like, no, I'm supposed to be a pastor like my dad. And then I get married and things change. I had worked for a decade. I'm a high school dropout.
Oh.
Ended up got my GED just to get into the Air Force. I had to work for that. I had to when I went and talked to the recruiter, he's like, "Yeah, we can hook this up, but you might, since you've been out of school for over a decade, you might want to go to college so you can kind of get back in that school mindset." It's like, "Okay, I can do that." So I went to GCU, took some classes so I can kind of get back in that rhythm. And so, you know, fast forwarding again, when I'm talking to my wife on the phone, just nothing was working out. I worked for a bank. I worked for Wells Fargo. I worked for a knife shop. You know, I worked for my dad full time, doing media, video, special effects. When I moved to LA, it was to do lighting, video, and special effects in Los Angeles.
Whew.
And then I meet my wife, and we come back here, and just nothing was working. And I'm driving home. I'm out in Mesa, and I'm driving home one day, and that's when it kind of clicked. Air Force. Can't explain it. I wish I could explain it, but it was all it said was Air Force. I'm like, that's weird because I thought in my head, I was like, I wanted to be military. I wanted to either be a cop. I mean, I had actually tried to get on with Phoenix Police Department. I had an academy date and a pre-hire date locked in. I was supposed to start on a Monday. The Thursday before, my background investigator calls me and she says, "Hey, I'm sorry, we can't take you." I'm like, "What?"
Why?
And so I was like, "Okay, I'm sorry, what?" She's like, "Well, you've been out of school for so long. You don't have this and that." And she's just giving me a line of excuses. I'm like, "Okay," and that was like a gut punch.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I'm trying to do this thing, but I guess not. And so, I wanted to be military or a cop, but I always thought I was supposed to be ministry. I always thought I was supposed to be in the church, be a pastor, whatever. It's funny, God has different plans. If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. That's funny. Watch this. I got something for you.
I've never heard that. Yep, wow.
If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans.
Wow.
Right? So God's like, no, I got something for you. Hold on. This is going to be interesting. And so fast forward, I get that. That's just that Air Force. I call my wife. I'm like, all right, I guess we're doing this. And so the front end of the why was people had been part of my life. When I look at my mentors and my heroes, my dad is even to this day on the way over here, driving over here. I call him up. I'm like, hey man, we're talking stuff out before today.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
I was actually on the phone with
him
as we're talking stuff out, and so I watched how, as a leader, how he took care of people. Like a lot of how I do business to this day, I learned from him. So like when we would be in the middle of big productions, building a 40-foot steel tree, putting a choir in it, he did all that.
Damn.
And so he would hire in people, or he would bring people in to help swing hammers or turn a wrench, the maintainer stuff. People would volunteer, hey man, I need this. He would always feed them, right? He would always take care of them. Hey, what do you need? What can I do for you? That's how he did business. When we would hire outside companies that don't do work with churches, they loved working for Pastor Keith because they knew he would take care of them, whatever that looked like.
Yeah.
We had a vending machine. We had a Coke machine in the office, and during big productions, he would chuck me the keys as I came in, open the vending machine.
Just give it to everybody, right?
Yeah. Get people drinks. Make sure they're fed. Make sure they have tools. So when on the ammo side of the house, when we're doing big things, whatever that looks like, leadership feeds the people, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Because you can't do the job if you're still hungry.
You always got to take care of them.
I learned that from my dad, right? And so that why was leaning towards people. It was taking care of people, meeting them where they're at, whatever that looks like, be it on the flight line or be it on a deployed location. What can I do? So I thought I was supposed to. I was like, all right, so I'm gonna be military. Okay, well maybe I'm supposed to be a chaplain because I thought ministry was gonna be the life. I was like, well, I don't have my degree, so I can't be a chaplain. Okay, maybe I can be a chaplain assistant, right?
Yep.
I was like, okay, maybe I can do this, but still something didn't feel right. And I worked when I got to Lake and Heath. I got in touch with the chaplain's assistants. And fell in love with them. I was like, dude, I love this world, but something still wasn't jiving. And then it finally clicked. I couldn't tell you when and where, but then I realized, I was like, wait a second. This is the ministry. This is meeting people where they're at. Because I get it. I understand that. A lot of people, they may not go to the chapel. I understand that. They may not go to the chapel. That tracks. I get that. But you're out there building bombs. You're out there swinging a wrench on the flight line. You're out there doing sheet metal or whatever that looks like. When you're in the middle of a job, they might talk to you. You build that relationship. You build that rapport. They may not talk to the chap, but they will talk to you.
That's interesting because I've never heard anybody say that the military was a ministry, but it is. Now that you said that, I'm reflecting on it. And I'm like, you're helping people. You're ensuring that people are doing good. You're ensuring that their faith is in the people that are around them. Mm-hmm. That is, in a higher being in whatever sense. Mm-hmm. So I've never, wow, this is actually absolute, like, I'm mind blown right now because I never thought of it that way. And now looking back, as you said that, I was looking back at my career and looking back at things and looking at individuals who were, that kind of that wrangler and that shepherd to help us guide each other to where we need to go. And that's exactly what pastors do. Yeah. Wow. So I've never thought. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's.
Hey, I'll take it a step back, and I understand. A lot of people, they may not read scripture, but they may not read the Bible specifically. I'm using that context. But if you go all throughout the Bible, Old Testament, New Testament, you've got these moments of the maintainer thought process. Be it Noah building an ark, he was a maintainer. He was building a thing, right? You've got Christ and his disciples. He didn't go to the pretty and the prim. No, he went to
The grind,
the grinders. He went to the fishermen, the guys that were out on boats for hours and days on end trying to make means. You know, the tax collector, for that time context, they were the most hated because they're making people run them pockets.
Yep.
And a lot of times they were corrupt in and of itself. And he's going to these guys. He's like, hey, follow me. Let's go do a thing. One of his guys was an assassin.
Yeah.
He was a zealot. By today's standards, he was fighting against the Roman government. So what we would look at that, for that context, he was a terrorist of that location.
Wow. Wow.
And Christ says, I want you. Come with me. Let's go take care of people. You got King David, right? This dude leading armies into battle. And he's got his own group of people that loved him so much as a leader, they would do anything for this guy. He's on the run from the current king. They're holed up in a cave somewhere, and they're just shooting the shit. They're at the campfire just bullshitting. They're talking about home and whatnot. And he says, he's just reminiscing. He's like, man, I missed water from this particular well. He's like, that was my favorite spot. And two of his guys, just being E4 Mafia, they go behind enemy lines. They're like, we got this, boss. They go behind enemy lines, get water, and bring it back for their boss. Because he had built that relationship with them, they would do anything for this guy. So I look at those things throughout Scripture and I go, it's teaching us how to be leaders, whether we realize it or not. And so I kind of model my why after that. I mean, be it however you want to look at it. If you want to look at it just the book, or if that's your faith, it's still the story, the encouragement within it is kind of what drives me, right? And so then fast forwarding again, you know, at this point I kind of knew my why, but I didn't really know my why. It was in the back of my brain. It was, I want to help people. I want to be there for people, be there where they're at, whatever that looked like. It wasn't until last year that it finally clicked on my why. And I went, son of a bitch. We got a counselor that's embedded in our squadron right now. Shout out to True North. They're amazing. They're amazing people. Thankfully the Air Force is finally kind of taking a step forward, and they're embedding counselors within squadrons. You know, for my squadron here at DM Muns, we've got our True North counselor. Shout out to Diana. Hey, if you're watching this, appreciate you.
Hopefully you can get her on, show her and let her know.
I'll definitely send her this.
You know, it would be crazy, and I don't mean to interrupt your story.
No, it's okay.
But it would be crazy to get her perspective because she's seen a lot, and especially helping out the troops.
I'll get you her contact info.
I would appreciate that.
Absolutely.
You said Diana?
Diana. So take care of her. But, you know, so we've got that. And so her and I, we're talking, and it finally clicked. I was like, because I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grow up, right? When I retire, you know. And so I said, I want to help vets on the mental health side of the house so that maybe, or not just vets, but just military people, because we kind of speak the same language, right? I want to help them, not necessarily, I mean, help them through this, whatever situation that is, right? I understand that sometimes, you know, I can't make you think a certain way. I can maybe give you the experiences that I've had, but at the end of the day,
Yes.
you're there.
Yes.
So I realized, I was like, wait a second. I can be there with you while you're in the fire.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. That's the what drives me, is to help people in whatever their time of need is, however that is. If it's, do you need me to pick something up and put it down? On it. I got it. Do you just need me to sit here and have a beer with you and listen? I got it. Let's do this. That's, you know. So I asked her, I was like, how do I do that? How do I don't want to go back to school if I don't have to. Is that even doable? She's like, well, let me ask around and see what I can find out. And she's got people over at the VA here in Tucson. A little bit late, I don't know, maybe about a week later, she sends me a link. peer specialist, peer-to-peer specialist. I'm like, what is this? It's a certification. So the way that I'm learning this, and I apologize if I misspeak this, but I'm learning this whole process right now. Just finished up the first class. So in your hierarchy, you got clinical psychiatrist, psychologist, you got clinical social worker, and then you got peer specialist. So a lot of times people may not feel comfortable talking to a social worker, or they may not feel comfortable talking to a psychiatrist. They'll talk to a peer specialist. A lot of times peer specialist might be some guy that you run into at the grocery store, or be like you run into somebody, you start talking and be like, hey man, here's my card, give me a call.
Yep.
Let's hey, you got 5 minutes, let's go. Hey, back in the day, the smoke pit.
Yep.
So yeah,
back in the day, that still exists
that
now.
Still exists, but
But
even now, I have my rule is the smoke pit. It's you need to talk about anything. It's a stripes off. It's a talk off. Top off. It's the safe space. It's the fight club.
Yeah.
Let's go to the smoke pit. What do you need?
And it's informal therapy.
100% it is.
I don't know. I smoked for a small period of time in my military career.
Same here.
And then I stopped. And I would still go out there and listen to the folks that were there because they were the ones that were, venting or doing whatever they needed to. The other individuals inside didn't quite have that relationship because when you get around a whole bunch of guys and they're like, oh fuck this, so it was the informal therapy, and I didn't even realize that.
Those venting sessions are so important because it goes back to the relationship piece. When you build that relationship, that's when you realize, be it whoever you're talking to, or sometimes even for yourself. Tim Hunt, hey man, appreciate you, brother.
Tim,
so
always on here.
Context, I worked for Tim the last time I was in Korea, so 16, 17 time frame, and I was his number 2. And we relied on each other for a lot of stuff.
Gotcha.
I literally sat not even 10 feet from him. And so we would see each other every day. And some of the I could have stories for him. He's probably got stories for me.
Well, you know what? One of these days we'll get both of you guys on.
It'd be so great. Oh man, it'd be wonderful. But he was one of my mentors. And so when he was going through his struggles, or I was going through my stuff, he and I, because we had that relationship, he's, a side note, Tim was an interesting thing because through my current 18 years, I've had 2 mentors that have really stuck out to me, and I'll shout them out. So obviously Tim Hunt, and then Will Christ. I want to shout out to him. These 2 guys, very, very lot of similarities in the guys, how they approach things. And the one thing that always stuck out to me that made them so good at what they did, they listened. They listened. And it wasn't like a listening to respond. It was some of the times Tim wouldn't say a stinking word. You just listen.
But it's empathy. It's understanding.
Yeah.
It's...
It was... And sometimes he's like, Buck, what are you doing? Or, there was one day when he finally taught me what it was to be an NCO, which is kind of sad. I was wanting to take leave, or not wanting to. I was going to take leave, and so we had that relationship, right? And so I tell him, I was like, hey, I'm thinking about taking leave on this day, and he says, without skipping a beat, are you asking me or telling me? And then it clicked. Son of a bitch. It's that empowerment, and he told me, he's like, look, he's like, because I was still a staff at the time. He was a tech. And he's like, you're my number 2. You tell me whatever you need. Done. Happening. I was like, and it built that confidence in me to be able to make those decisions because I had toxic leaders in the past that would squirrel me off on a shift or hide me away somewhere because they didn't want to deal with, for whatever reason it was. But it wasn't until Will Christ at Kadena and Tim Hunt that finally went, hey, dude, I got you.
Yeah.
Will, his skill set is listening. It's that listening piece. He would just listen every now and then. He would ask a question, just be like, okay, what do you mean? or it'd be like, do you want my advice, or do you want me to listen? What do you need? Which direction do you need me to go?
The crazy thing is, some of those leaders kind of throw it back on you as to, okay, you're giving me this scenario. Now I'm going to ask you, what would you do, or how would you take care of this? And those are the leaders that you're just like, holy shit, like, bam.
That you latch
and then
onto.
and you latch onto, and then you become part of that leader because you grow continuously.
Yeah.
So then that goes back to Tim. One of two things: having great leaders, or having shit leaders where he had to adapt to become a great leader.
He was phenomenal at adapting.
It's a common. It's common to have both, and to be able to mold yourself into that.
Yeah.
And that's the way I've always felt too.
Yeah.
I mean, God, I miss some of the guys that I worked with, and that's taught me. And I, as shitty as this may sound, I miss some of the bad leaders that I had, because those bad leaders shaped me to do the things that I needed to do.
That.
And I think, and to
That's
your
the
point,
key.
you know, your toxic leadership and everything, but also like Tim, focusing that and bringing that out in you, he's gone through some stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has. listening to his first episode. So he had told me a lot of that stuff. There was some stuff that he didn't tell me because, be it wasn't appropriate at the time, or he just didn't feel comfortable at the time. And I'm watching his episode, and I'm going, "Holy crap, Tim! Why didn't you tell me this?" Yeah,
But
for
no,
whatever
but you
it
don't.
was.
Yeah, but we
For
don't.
whatever it was,
We hold
but
it in.
Yes.
And this is
it
what
was incredible.
And I'll tell you, this is what I love about this platform, is that I've brought some stuff out from people that have never even talked about things.
Yeah.
And this is what I like. And you being the first active duty guy, I don't want to say I'm hesitant to ask you questions, but I'm cautious because you are still active duty. You still have, I mean, right now he currently has the first sergeant phone just in case.
Yeah,
you know,
sitting right over there.
Sitting right over there. And I understand. I'm not going to put you in that situation. But the focal point of this is like your why, you know, and you're giving me your why, and I enjoy every bit of it. And it's helped me learn quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so now we're going to shift gears a little. You gave me your why as to why you joined. Why did you stay in? Because right now I know your why from when you joined,
Yeah.
and what you want to continue to do, because you want to continue to serve and continue to help. And that's a why right now. That's, as I've had one of my episodes of Ever Revolving Why, your why changes. My why has changed a million times. My why is changing right now because I'm thinking of further things. Like, you know, he wants to do podcasting, and he's going to be a peer specialist. So my part of my why is to try to help him out. That is a why now.
Yeah.
You know, that's an absolute why. But you've given me what you want to do past your military career. Why did you stay in? Because some people say, fuck this is 4 years and I'm out. Because I can only tolerate so much, or I can only, you know, I only want to deal with so much because of the pressure of everything. Why did you stay in? Why did you continue to? You're on your 5th reenlistment, correct? 4th, 5th.
The last reenlistment was my final one.
Yeah. So, but from
What
step
kept me
1
going,
to
yeah.
what kept you going? Why?
So it's funny. I've got a troop recently that worked for me. He asked me that exact question because he's on his way out the door, and he's like, "Sergeant Buck, why did you do it?" And it was funny at the time. I didn't really have an answer, and even still now, I don't have an answer. It's a couple pieces. Part of it is because I'm stubborn. I'll just be honest with
I think
that.
we all are.
Yeah, I'm stubborn. But when I joined, when my wife and I both agreed, it was like, okay, I'm in it to win it, right? So I was like, all right, I'm gonna give the Air Force 20 in a day. So I had my plan. It was like, all right, I want to make master. Well, that ship has sailed, unfortunately. I'm still a tech, okay? But
That's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
okay.
Well, and I'll get to that. So I wanted to retire as a master with 20 in a day. That's what I'm gonna give, and then I'll move on to the next piece. So that was part of it. It was I had that plan, that goal. I've got to keep pressing. I fully understand. And I recognize that this life is not for everybody. I see it happen a lot, more often than not. You know, some people don't join. Okay, I'm only gonna do 4. I'm only gonna do 6, and then cool, got it. That's awesome. You knew exactly. You did what you wanted. Now you move on to the next thing. I hope you find that next thing.
And I hope you take advantage of your benefits. By the way, that's important. So,
Different piece because you had that episode.
but I had to
Yep.
throw that in there because
Yeah.
some people don't take advantage of those benefits,
Exactly,
and that's unfortunate because even if you did 3 years, 2 years, and you got out, that's important. So I had to throw that in.
No,
there.
that's
So
okay.
sorry.
That's
That's a
important.
little plug because
Yep.
I that's my number one thing.
Yeah.
Did you get your benefits? Did
Did you get
have
this?
you been doing what you need to do to get your
Yeah,
benefits?
yeah. Yeah, so it was part of it was stubbornness. The other part was going back to the why, was the people piece. So I stuck around because as I built those relationships, helping people through whatever those things were, I recognized that if I were just to do 6 years, then I'm at year 5. I'm building a relationship. This person's our timelines are overlapping. They're getting out, and I can't keep pouring into their lives.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, I can talk to them offline. Sure, I can call them when they get out. But I'm of the mind of, let me help you where you're at. We're in the trench together. We're in the pit together. Let me keep working with you. And so I just kept pressing. And so at the front, it was keep going till my 20. And then now it's like, now that I'm starting to do the overlap of getting ready to retire here soon, now it's okay, we're here, now it's starting to overlap. So that's kind of what kept me in. It was the people, that's the big thing, was the people. And then being stubborn.
And he talked about his whys, but and he's kind of brought out his why for the future, because a lot of us that come on this are retired or are out of the military, and our whys are going forward. Your why going forward is you want to be a peer specialist, you want to help, you want to continually help. I think before we got on, we both talked about dark times in our career. And that has shifted me and helped me to do this, to create that why for hopefully somebody else, to see that. And I appreciate you telling me that this was, he told me yesterday that this was a phenomenal thing that I'm doing. And I've had that feedback before. And I'm sitting here as a humble individual saying that I don't see that I'm doing such a great job. I just want to help anybody and everybody that I can. And I don't want to make a profit off of this. I don't want to do anything, because we talked about, trying to get some people together and having, some kind of events for veterans. And this is, you go a 20-year career and then you get out. Sometimes you get lost in that transition.
I see that happen a lot.
And
I do.
That's why I'm here doing this. But I appreciate you and your why, and why you want to, after the military, continually help vets. Because a lot of us lose an identity. A lot of us absolutely lose an identity.
Sorry, don't mean to cut you off.
No.
You hit like the nail on the head. Identity. This is something I was talking to somebody about the other day. The uniform that we put on, for some, I understand. Some people that became their identity, be it coming right out of high school, leaving their folks' house. They're still figuring out what they are, right? It tracks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that becomes their identity. But the uniform, their clothes, the job that you do, it's not your identity. Your identity is who you are on a day-to-day basis, how you engage with people, how you do things, how you see life.
How your morals and ethics are.
I
understand that. But the thing is, when you come out of the military at 38 and you did more time in the military than you lived outside, your identity, your military service becomes your identity. And you feel that. So, like, you have a different perspective because you did 26 years. You lived a life for 8 years after high school, 9 years after high school, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then you joined. I literally left high school, had a summer,
Bam.
and then bam, I was in. So my identity was the military.
Yeah.
Now, looking back, it's a lot different. I look back now and I'm like, fuck, I let that get in my way. Fuck, I pigeonholed myself. You know what I mean? I rabbit holed myself. Like I did that.
Yeah.
Because how were we talking about before? You know, you see a path, you want that path, and then that path goes haywire. There's 8 different forks in the road, and you don't even know which one to go down.
Which one am I supposed to go?
And then this one leads to who knows, this one leads to another one. But looking back now, my identity was that, but you're right, my identity wasn't the military, my identity was me. I was just formed into a military mindset. And now I have a different mindset. Because I've lived, God, I was just having this conversation with somebody, almost 6 years away from the day that I retired. Yeah. My official day was 1 October 2018. Okay. It's almost 6 years ago. Got it. Like this, gone.
It just disappeared.
But I appreciate you because you want to continue helping individuals and doing those things and hopefully motivating and getting them on the right path. Because if you help one person, that one person, I don't care what I do in my life, if I can help one person just do what he needs to get out of that hole, my life is fulfilled.
See, watch this. So when I lived out in LA, I was working at a church out there. My pastor out there, he said people want to change the world, right? But that's a unrealistic expectation because the world is massive, right? But you can change your world, the people that are in your circles that you engage with on a day-to-day, your network of people. If you can change one person at a time, it's the product of multiplicity.
Yep.
You change one person, and then it affects another person, and then the next affects another person, and then it spreads.
Yep.
If you can do one person at a time, you can change. You may not be able to change the world, the spinning ball of mud that's out in the universe, but you can change your world, the people that you engage with, you interact with.
And like you said, it multiplies. But that one person, it's like paying it forward. It's like you going someplace and sitting out and paying that person behind you's tab for whatever, and then they pay it forward and it continues and it grows. Yeah. And that network will never change, you know, and that's the beauty. So I love that. I love that that's what you're doing. You know, I mean, that makes me feel great, you know, and him reaching out and us talking has made me feel great as well. Now, you know, we talked about whys, but, you know, you talked about a couple good leaderships or good leaders and mentors. But what did you enjoy about your time in? What made you feel proud to not just wear the uniform, but to be a part of an organization or the organizations that you were with?
So the enjoyment part, you know, being able to travel the world. There are some days that I do, I'll kind of take it for granted how many different countries I've been to. I forget that. I'm like, good Lord. So I gotta count it out. I'm like, okay, so I did Afghanistan. Okay, so I did Iraq. There's Korea multiple times. You know, the Philippines. Getting to go to those different places. And
Japan's an amazing place.
Oh, I miss it. I miss Asia. You know, to be in Okinawa and then going up to the mainland, just being able to travel and experience different cultures, experience different people. You know, part of the why is people. I'm fascinated by what makes people tick. And this is why I was telling them what I love about the show is what drives you. What is your why? Why do you do the things you do? And so getting to experience different peoples outside of the United States, let alone Arizona, let alone Phoenix, Arizona, I was like, I get it. You go Phoenix, but then you go to him being from Texas, different thought processes. Mm-hmm. Living in Los Angeles, different thought processes. In ghetto Los Angeles, Sunset and Alvernon, ghetto Los Angeles. I mean,
and then you get Tim's perspective. You know, you get all the individuals' perspective. Yeah. You know, like he's from North Carolina.
Carolina, yeah. So that was just fascinating, and then getting to experience those different things. I mean, when I lived in Okinawa, I was doing a lot of martial arts at the time. Martial arts was part of my life for many years. I was doing Wing Chun in Okinawa, which is weird, the birthplace of karate, and I'm doing Wing Chun. It was bizarre. But my instructor, he was Italian. He wasn't military. He moved from Italy to Okinawa he taught multiple styles to teach Goju-Ryu. And so I ended up in contact with him, and this man was amazing. He was a little older than he's a decade older than myself. And so getting to learn his perspectives was just so cool. I mean, I would actually, his motorcycle was busted, so I would pick him up and take him to school every day and then drop him off. Because he was right on my route to go to school. And so we would talk about all kinds of stuff. And I mean, he was perpetuating stereotypes. You know, we would talk about food. And he would just get just so excited about food. The funniest thing I think I ever heard this man say, thick Italian accent. His English was really well. He spoke 5 languages.
I was going to say, because he had
spoke 5
Italian.
languages. So he's on the border of France. So Italian, French.
Spanish, probably?
I think a little bit of Spanish, yep. So English, Japanese, and then he also, we had a student, she was deaf. So sign language, but I don't know which. I don't know.
It's not ASL, so
it
is ASL.
Yeah,
Yes, okay.
So I wasn't sure if it was ASL or if it was the other one.
Yeah, because there's like an ASL and then there's a world. Everybody has their own individual.
I forgot about that. So I mean, he spoke multiple languages, and it was so funny. There was one day we're driving home, and we're talking about food, built that relationship, and I called him Sifu. You know, the word for teacher. And so I said, Sifu, just curious, what do you think? And I knew I was kicking the hornet's nest, but I wanted to see what he would do. So I said, what do you think about American pizza? And you thought I just kicked his dog. The fire in his eyes. He's like, no. I was like, it's okay. You're not going to hurt my feelings. He's like, what don't you like? And I wish I was lying to you. He goes, you don't put potatoes or mayonnaise on pizza. And I'm like, wait,
no. Who's done that? Because I have.
I was like, okay. And so, Sifu, I'm just going to stop you right there. In the States, mayonnaise doesn't go on pizza.
No.
Corn doesn't go on pizza. Pineapple, I know those are fighting words for some people, but potatoes don't go on pizza.
That's Korean.
Yeah, it was Korean.
That's Korean.
Yeah, Korean and Japanese. It was so funny. So, but learning those things, those different perspectives, it was so funny. He's like, okay, well, what do you put on pizza? I was like, honestly, like sausage, simple things, right? You don't make it complicated. You know, sausage, pepperoni, black olives. I was like, that's what we do. Because, he didn't know that. He had no idea because his experience
was Japanese.
Pizza. So I asked him. I said, okay. So what do you think? What do you think is good pizza? And do you know what margarita is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
That's what.
With
he
olive
explained.
oil and no
just
sauce,
simple,
just plain. Yep.
And he explained it, and I'm like, just simple margarita pizza.
Have you been to Italy?
No, I have not gotten to. So that was kind of the.
So, I did 2 weeks in Sicily on the way to Afghanistan in 2007. And I think I had pizza every day.
Oh.
Because it was so fucking delicious. I didn't even care what was on it.
Yeah.
I didn't care what was on it. Put whatever the fuck you want on it.
that one looks good over there, yeah. Yeah, but going back to your question, what did I enjoy? It was the traveling. It was getting to meet the different people from the different cultures.
God, the
to
cultures.
understand how people see things differently.
The food.
The food.
Fuck the food, man.
Oh man, bulgogi. Oh, I miss good Korean bulgogi.
Wait. Are we talking Seoul bulgogi or are we talking Kunsan bulgogi?
No, I'm glad you said that.
It's okay.
Different.
Okay.
It is different.
So I have to explain this to you guys because if you've never been to Korea, you don't understand. But it's like having tacos in California, having tacos in Arizona, and then having tacos in Texas. everyone's different. You're gonna have watery tacos. You're gonna have crispy tacos. You're gonna have crunchy shit. You're gonna have more flavors than not. You're gonna have no flavors. That is the way
Yes.
bulgogi is. And I realized that the second time I was in Korea.
Okay.
But you go down to Busan and you try to have bulgogi, completely different than having bulgogi in Kunsan.
Or
Then
just Osan to Kunsan.
Osan to Kunsan, and then you go right on the border, like you know, right between North Korea and right at the DMZ.
Yeah,
you know, I went up there for a tour and I had bulgogi up there, and it is like a stew. It is completely different. It's and it's just like tacos, like or Mexican food.
Yeah. LA
Every region is-
tacos. I miss LA tacos, but Texas tacos, bruh.
See,
Bruh.
and most people are like, I don't even like Tex-Mex, you know, but
Bro.
it's just that stuff. It's what you like. It's and it's just different regions. So the food. Sorry, I had to interrupt there
No, that was
because
a good tangent.
because people don't quite understand. They're like, oh, bulgogi is bulgogi, but
No, it's
bulgogi,
not.
fuck you, bulgogi's not. Like
No, it is
I'm gonna
not.
tell you right now, fuck you, bulgogi's not. It's like tacos. It's like Mexican food. Every place has its regions.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I don't know that I can associate that with other things because tacos and bulgogi are kind of the same in the sense that there's different regions, different locations, or maybe pizza. I can relate that to pizza. You know, you get a New York pizza, a Chicago pizza, a Detroit pizza, and then a Southern pizza. Or then you go
That's fair, yeah.
to have pizza in Japan, Korea, you know,
Yeah,
anywhere
there you go.
else. It brings that out. It's just like different regions have different things, you know, and that's the way bulgogi was. It was
Yeah.
phenomenal. And I love the fucking food. Man, I love the food. If you need good places in Tucson for everything, let me know. Because
We'll talk about Korean because I've finally started to branch out and found some Korean ones that I enjoy.
man, if you like Mediterranean food or
What's
like
the
Turkish
Greek-
food,
Yes.
the Greek food,
Opus.
Opas,
Yeah.
go
Oh,
to Istanbul and have their Turkish food, like their
Okay.
euros and everything else.
Istanbul,
And I'm
okay.
sorry, I'm totally going off a fucking tangent.
Yep.
So those individuals that aren't even in fucking Tucson, I'm sorry, but Istanbul, and I'm gonna explain this. I got back from my deployment in 2018,
Yeah.
and then I retired at late 2018. 2019, they opened up a Turkish food location here in town, and that Turkish food was absolutely like being in Turkey. And I know
That close?
Yeah.
That
No,
close?
not that close. It
But
is.
it
It
was dead
replicates.
on.
It
Oh,
definitely
that's-
replicates.
wow.
Even the tea that they serve. And Istanbul is on Speedway, and you'll be able to find a Speedway in Alvernon, I believe. And it's just something that
Okay.
you know,
We'll
and I can
we'll talk
and I can
offline.
tell you, you
Yeah.
know, Japanese ramen as well, like Ja ramen, like if
Ja
you have
was
it,
good.
yes,
Yeah, Ja
and
was
it's absolutely a mimic.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, so-
Sorry,
so-
we went on a
Off we
food
go,
tangent.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Now-
all right. So you say, what about your time? But there was another part to that question. Refresh my memory. What was it?
What did you enjoy about your time?
Yeah, so it was the traveling, the food, obviously, learning. One of the things that I do that I absolutely love about the military is people coming from all different walks of life,
Yes.
and that's what's fascinating. I love, I use the analogy, and I'll make it short. If I were to hold up, the beer can from as we're sitting here, and as you guys are watching at home, we recognize this as a can, right? We know this. Okay, it'd be absurd to call it something else. It's
Yeah.
not an orange. It's a can. But how we see that can is very, very different. What we see on that can is very different because of our different perspectives, our different ages, our eyesight. We see things if we can smell different things. So we all have different perspectives, and that's what makes it so stinking cool. If you had a bunch of people in a work section or your family that all see the same thing the exact same way, it would get boring.
Yeah, it would. It would.
The vacuum doesn't allow for creativity. He couldn't do what he did because you were sheet metal, right?
Yeah.
Okay. He couldn't do in sheet metal. I couldn't do what I do in ammo if we all saw it the exact same way.
Yeah, I never thought of that.
Yeah, it's
The can
fascinating.
analogy makes sense because look at these two
mean,
cans. One's from Pennsylvania, One's from Ohio. I mean, I got a Texas and a Cali one,
Yeah.
and they all hold different things internally, and they all have a different external appearance.
I had never taken it that much. That was cool. That was cool. I like that.
So, well, thank you for that because,
Yeah.
that helped me out as well. Do you regret anything? And this is kind of a twofold question. Do you regret anything, and would you change anything? And the way I see this, I don't know how many of my episodes you've watched, but my regret is in Okinawa not getting that fresh sushi right off the boat. And I don't think you've watched that episode. I don't know if you have, but that's my only regret in the military. Would I change stuff? Yes, absolutely. I would have done things differently, but I don't call them regrets because it got me to where I need to. My only regret was that on a fisherman boat out deep sea fishing, we caught a tuna and he sliced it right in front. The fish is still flopping, and I didn't eat the fresh sushi. I didn't eat the fresh sashimi.
That is.
So that is my only regret in the military.
Oh,
I mean, I can go on and on and on and probably think about something else, but that is my only regret. Would I change things? Yes, but that is my regret. Now, I say that because people will kind of blur the lines on those changing and regrets. But what was your regret and what would you change? Like if you had a regret, if you didn't, I mean, I understand because I don't think that there should be very many regrets.
You know, and the regret one is kind of tough because I look at it as if I would have done anything different, I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
Yep, that's
That's the weird part. The only thing that I can think of, and it may not be anything big, but going back to the martial arts piece to the instructor, I wish I could have joined him earlier and built that. Even had got more time to build that relationship with him, because even to this day, every now and then I shoot him a line. I've been out of the martial arts game for a few years now, but he made an impact on my life. He had his kindness and the way that he was just such the sweetest man. I mean, I loved spending time with him. We wouldn't have to say a single thing. Like having the opportunity to watch this man train. I've seen very few people train as hard as he did. Martial arts and physical training was a part of his life. If I could have had just a little bit more time with him, that would have been cool. That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
But as far as changing things, so I don't like to play the woulda, coulda, shoulda game, but every now and then it's a fun exercise. It's a fun mental exercise. Because to see what things would have looked like. And so when I joined, going back all the way back to the beginning, when I signed on the dotted line, when I took my ASVAB, being out of school for so long, my ASVAB scores actually weren't too bad. I mean, hell, I got ammo. I mean, it's not... so for
You weren't a cop or a cook, so you're good.
we laugh at that.
You're like the third. You're like the third lowest. So you're.
I looked at it recently.
Tim's gonna be pissed at me.
Oh, he's gonna be so mad. But looking back, this is probably a couple months ago now. I pulled up the current ASVAB scores on what you need, and ammo. Believe it or not, for any armament that's watching this, we're actually sitting at about the middle. It's it's a little higher than I thought it was.
I thought you guys were like third at school.
Yeah, I know. On the bottom. Yeah.
Cook and then cop,
and then
cook.
ammo.
They're like the same.
Yeah,
and
I
then
know,
ammo.
right? No, but strangely enough, I would have loved to get into being my background video.
Okay.
But funny enough, I didn't score high enough on my ASVAB, which I laugh at because I had done broadcast video for a little over a decade before I joined.
That would have been perfect because
So
you could have
it
done
was
AFM.
hilarious. Exactly. It was hilarious. So I'm like, this is really weird. Okay. I had, real world application learning. It was so funny.
I think sometimes the military, whenever they do those, especially the ASVAB, they capture items that you are semi-proficient at,
Yeah.
but I don't think they capture exactly who you are as a person and how you've done things in the past and what you can bring to the military.
Well, I was watching the episode of Jason. Mm-hmm. You kind of made the joke about, the military. You're like, hey, I want to go here. And the military's like, no, you're going to go over there.
Yep. That's exactly what Jason said. Yep. Because it's true. It's true. I always thought that I was going to be a mechanic, but could I have done something different? I could have probably done CE. My mechanic aptitude was pretty high, so I geared that way. But could I done other things? Oh fuck yeah! Fuck yeah! I would have loved to, but I had fun. It was an enjoyment.
And it is a fun experiment to play with. It's like that would have been interesting. There was oh man, it was funny. So I'm locked in with ammo, and my recruiter calls me. So keep in mind, I've got a start date. This slimy individual, he tried to hook me up with LRS, like out of the yard. He calls me up. He's like, "Hey man, I got an earlier start date. It's oh shoot, I can't remember the AFSC. It's not Loadmaster. It was literally like out on the yard.
APS.
Yeah.
It's Aerial Port Squadron.
That's it.
So yeah,
that's what he tried to lock me in with, and just that gut feeling. I was like, "No, man, I'm good. I'm good."
You might have gotten a lot of deployments and TDYs, but I don't know that you got some good stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, going all the way back to my dad being a licensed pyrotechnician, it was in my DNA. Mm-hmm. Like the funny story, I was my dad and we were laughing out on the way over here. So for those that don't know, Air Force, explosives, this and that and the others. Back in the 90s, there was a shift where the government and the military changed how we classify hazardous materials. Okay, so back in the day for explosives, it was class A, B, C, and D. Okay, well I remember I can't remember the year, but they had made that shift, and for recertification, my dad would have to go to this class every year so that he could still be a shooter, and there was that change, and we had to relearn the material. So it shifted from class A, B, C, and D to 1.4, 1. All the way up to. I remember that change.
Wow.
And that revolutionized ammo as a career field, because up until that point we were 4.61s. We weren't 2WOs. So
what's a 4.61? So CE?
I don't know what it is now, but back then, back in the 90s. So for those that are not Air Force, if you're Army, what is it, MOS?
Yeah.
So AFSC, whatever your class is. So it changed. Ammo used to be, our AFSC was 4.61s back in the 90s, and then we fell under LRS. Is who we fell under, and then we became 2WOs. And so when I talk to a lot of the young airmen that are under me, or shoot, even some of the old hats that didn't know that shift, I remember when that change happened. So it was just kind of funny that ammo being explosives being in my DNA, I kind of laughed at it. So I'm like, yeah, no, dude, hey man, I don't want that LRS gig. I think this is where I'm supposed to go.
Yeah. Especially with your background, what I mean? It made sense. It made sense, yeah.
I found it funny.
See, everything aligns, like you said.
Yep.
So you talked about Tim and your other
Will Christ.
Will Christ. Is there anybody else that you just was a great leader that you were like, oh my God, like this guy I'd follow into battle any day of the week?
I'll make that current. I'm gonna give my current leadership shout out.
Really? Because
as far as the for and I'll in the triad, and the commander, the chief, the shirt. So the commander I've worked for, of all the commanders that I've worked for through the years, and I know when I boss, I'm gonna give you a shout out. Lieutenant Colonel Wu. There's been really and truthfully 2 commanders that I've absolutely loved because of their heart for people. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's Lieutenant Colonel Robertson. I can't remember his first name, but he was the one, and Colonel Wu, he's the other one. Yeah, funny story about Colonel Robertson. He was a riot. So he was actually prior enlisted. Retire. Get this. So he said, and I always get him flipped. I don't remember if he was medical first and then he was age, or if he was age then he was medical, and then he commissions, makes it all the way to major. At I think he was at 20 years. He was at retired. He retires as a major. Get this. Retires as a major a year to the day later. He's already been a civilian.
Oh, they called him back.
They called him back. They're like, hey, we want you back. We'll give you that year of back pay and like colonel.
Wait, was this at the start of the Iraq-Afghanistan war? Like,
Honestly, I cannot remember the time frame because I didn't meet him until Kadena. He was my commander at Kadena. Like, so the funny story about how I learned this story. So at the time I was smoking. I'm working swing shift in our storage section. I had to go over to one of our other offices to drop something off that just happened to be in the same building he's at. So drop it off, do my thing. I go out to the smoke pit. I'm having a smoke. Colonel comes out. I didn't know this at the time, but he had a daily routine that every day at the end of the day, at the end of his day, he would have his cigar. He would have like a 15-minute burn. That was his ritual. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I'm out at the smoke pit, and it's undercover. I see him coming. I stand up. He's like, I go to salute. He's like, don't salute me. You got covered, dude. Come on. He was funny. I mean, just down to earth guy. And I was like, cool. He's like, relax, man. I'm just trying to have my cigar. We start talking. Okay, so we got park benches set up. When we started the conversation, he's kind of sitting. About 10 minutes in, he is lounged across these two park benches with his feet kicked up like he don't care. I mean, he's just the most relaxed guy. So, like, for him, I'd do anything for the man. And then Colonel Wu, I mean, that man is just his love for people. Like, when we got to do business, it's business. But just, he'll get bored. Like, if he's, and not really bored, I don't want to say that, it doesn't sound nice. But if he's like, I've got to get away from the desk for a minute,
yeah,
he'll just hit the shops. He won't tell anybody. He just
strolls in.
Just rolls in solo. He just wants to say hi, and just loves to spend time with people. My Chief Robbie Johnson, love you, Chief. He's that man. I would do anything for them because it's their servant heart.
Yep.
It's that heart for people. It makes it really easy to serve somebody when you know that they would do it in kind.
Yep.
That goes back to that people piece.
Yeah.
My first sergeant, the whole reason why the phone is sitting over there right now. I just went and funny enough, I went through this symposium. For those that don't know, for the Air Force side, If you have visions and you want to be a first sergeant, one of the prerequisites is you got to go through the first sergeant symposium, week-long class, so you can learn all the different things about being a shirt, and you apply and this and that and the other. So I had actually got to go to the symposium. I've been trying to do it for a couple years, and then I had a first sergeant that actually gave a crap, and I was in her office, we were talking about one of my troops. I was like trying to figure out my left and right boundaries, what's appropriate, what's not. I was like, sure, can I go, when's the next symposium? I've been trying to do this for a while now, but I keep getting denied or pushed to the side. She's like, I got you. I get an email a few weeks later, hey, you're going on this date. I was like, bet. So I wanted to go so that I can kind of understand and I can serve my people better. Mm-hmm. So if they had a question, maybe they couldn't get to the shirt, but I'm right there.
Yeah, no,
so
absolutely.
I could actually answer that, and I can help them out. And then she hits me up. She's like, "Hey, I need back up."
Yep.
I got this thing coming up. I was like, "Okay, I got you. I'll take care of you." So to answer that question, it's like current. Those three right there.
Yeah. Now, winding this down.
Yep.
You're still active duty. You're still in. Usually, the individuals I ask, what any advice for those that are joining the military, still in, or about to retire? you haven't hit that about to retire yet.
Yeah, because I'm not there yet.
You're not there yet. You're not there yet. But
Right.
if you need advice from myself, Tim, and anybody
Then
else,
I'm gonna go to you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love for you to. You know, if you need anything, especially with once you get closer, your VA stuff and what the outside looks like.
Yeah, well,
let
definitely
me know.
get-
Definitely. almost 6 years out, so I definitely have a pretty good grasp on things. But what advice would you give for somebody that's coming in or that's in and isn't sure what they want to do or isn't sure how they want to continue on, if they want to continue on? What would you say? What advice would you give?
So I'd say for those that are wanting to join, and like we talked about earlier, a lot of times they're coming straight out of high school. The first thing I would say is if you know what you're good at or what you enjoy doing, I'll use the example of a mechanic. I'll start simple. Okay, all right. So you got a kid that's in high school. They love working on cars. All right. So you want to try and go that direction. Tell me if I'm wrong. Never go open general.
Yeah, never go
Right?
up in general.
Oh.
Never.
Oh.
I mean, unless you want to be a cop or a
Okay,
cook.
cool. Hey, but you know what? Listen, if you want to be a cop, send it. But what I would suggest is try and find a job that's what is kind of your world, what you enjoy.
Very
if you love
relatable.
cops, go be a cop. If you love turning wrenches, there's so many different jobs that you can do turning wrenches. Go flatline or shoot, go motor pool, go vehicle trans, go what you want to do.
Yep.
That will help you in the long run because then you'll enjoy what you're doing. You get to do what you love to do and you get paid for it.
Yep. Yep.
That's pretty great. For sticking around, I know a lot of people and some of the stories that I've heard just breaks my heart because as long as I've been in, I've seen some good mentors go because they just get tired of it. Best thing I can say is surround yourself with people that will build you up and you can build them up. As iron sharpens iron. Okay?
Yep.
Surround yourself with people, I don't want to say like-minded, because that's not the right way to say it, but surround yourself with people that encourage you. So when you're in the pit, you got somebody that can help you out of the pit. They will be there for you. And when they need somebody, you can be there for them.
That positivity. You
Yeah.
always want to be surrounded by positivity.
Yeah.
Even in your dark days. Mm-hmm. That positivity is going to reign great on you.
Yeah.
So
100%.
we're at the end.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. It was good.
Thanks for having me.
Do you have any last comments before we go?
No, I think we hit everything, man. I mean, the key thing and my why is that the people piece, and you hit the nail on the head. It's that positivity thing. You know, sometimes we're going to be in the pit. Sometimes we're going to be on top looking down in the pit. But surround yourself with people that will help you when you need that help. And when somebody needs that help, recognize, hey, I need to, whatever that looks like, be there for them.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like. Is it crawling down in the pit with them to give them your shoulder to get them out of that pit? Or is it reaching down to your hand to pull them out?
Yep.
Be there for each other.
Yeah.
That's really what I would say. Be there for each other. With this community you're building, man, this is an amazing community, incredible community. If you got to reach out to this guy, be like, hey, man, I need whatever that is. I just need an ear. Reach
Yeah.
out to that guy.
I appreciate that because this is what this is for. This platform is for this. This platform is to tell the stories, and if I can help out in any which way, if we can help out as a community, there shouldn't be any negativity towards what we do because all we're trying to do is make sure that if each one of us is taken care of. Yeah. We served our time. We did our time. We went through hell and back, as we all know. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you saying that. As I'm closing this out, I just want to say thank you guys. Again, I'm at 230 something, 240 subscribers, and it's growing. I appreciate it. I just put up a Facebook page. I'm at 1,400 people already, which is I just did it like two weeks ago. I think
that's awesome.
You know, and I'm just building. I'm sending out requests. People are requesting back. and it's building. And I'm hoping that this carries forward. I'll start a group soon. If you're wanting a shirt, hit me up on that Facebook page. Look up Veterans and Beer. Definitely let me know. A good portion of this goes to suicide awareness.
Good.
And that's
Awesome.
something that's important to myself and to the military community in general. But like, share, subscribe. Please subscribe.
Hit the bell.
Yep,
the notification bell. I did that for him. Hit the notification
And he
bell.
likes it because
Yep.
he can't even say it because he likes it. He actually said that this was what I'm doing is a good platform.
But that's how
what
I found
want.
out about it. It's Tim's first episode. He sent me the link. I was like, wait, what? You're on a podcast? And so I watched it. I was like, okay, I need to support this guy. So I hit that subscribe. And, I'm a YouTube junkie. I love this stuff. So I hit that little bell. So anytime he drops a video, I get the notification. Hey, Pedro's got a new video out. Oh shoot, that's cool.
And he'll get
that
a
bell.
little Pedro's got a new video out. And that's his fucking video, But I appreciate it, guys. Thank you for the support. Leave comments. Let me know what's going on. Let me know what's on your mind. I do want to have some what's going on in the military type of conversations. I've had VA stuff. I've had mental illness. Or mental health. I've had mental or anxiety, depression type of episodes. But I would like to get your feedback as to what you guys would like to hear. I do a lot of research. I read a lot about what's going on. And I think I'm pretty informed, even still 6 years later. I don't know the wickets of what's going on in the military right now in terms of being there, but I still know quite a bit of people that are in there. And if I can help out in any which way, shape, or form, I'm definitely down.
Awesome.
So thank you guys. He also, one last plug, he also talked about Deadpool. Deadpool moved a little. See him right there?
Yep,
He's
yep.
right there. He's got a little Deadpool on the side of his arm.
Yep, right there.
So,
I might have I got a ring.
I did see that too. But I appreciate it. Again, like, share, subscribe, and I will see you guys soon. Thank you guys. Love you guys. And I will talk to you. I will be on again. I might be on tomorrow. If not, it'll be during the week. See you soon.